Hello and welcome to Off Track, the motorcycle racing podcast. I'm your host, Dave Neal, and today my guest is road racer Joey Thompson. The Winter SEMA Escape just off the M62 doubles as the Off Track arms this week as we sit down and talk all things roads and BSB and have a long chat about mental health. Joey has had his battles in recent years, and only after being diagnosed with Asperger syndrome did things start to fall into place. A racing paddock shouldn't be a difficult place for Joey, but the lack of understanding at times has made it so. This is his story, and at times it's a difficult listen, but hopefully it's one that will help people understand the real Joey Thompson. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Joey Thompson. Hello and welcome to Off Track, the motorcycle racing podcast. I'm your host, Dave Neal, and we're in the wilds of West Yorkshire. We've ended up in the Winter SEMA at Castleford. It's kind of 2/3, 1/3 in terms of distance between myself and the good Lord Joey Thompson. Joey, welcome to Off Track, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I thought it was a bit bizarre meeting in Wetherspoons. I think last time I was in here, I had to be carried out by one of my friends. But
See, that's what the podcast's for. That's where the stories come from.
No, not done any of that in a while, to be honest. So, yeah, here to talk about motorbikes.
Talk about motorbikes and talk about you.
Yeah, talk about me. I've got plenty of stories to tell.
Well, we have, and I dropped you a message last night, didn't I, to tell you what kind of things we were going to talk about and see which way it goes. And the same as I said last night, there's certain ways we'll go with the story, and if you don't want to go down that road, it ain't a problem.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? There's no stress, no pressure
agree.
at all.
I think after the recent videos that went out, we got Motion Focus filmed a documentary which is called What's Your Story? They've done one on Chrissy Rouse and Davey Todd and a young lad that races in a mini bike championship. And I thought it was really good. It's a very long one. I'd highly recommend, well, not only watching mine, but watching the rest of the videos as well, because they give a great insight into the road racing life. Because from the outside looking in, it looks a lot different to what actually is. I wouldn't say some of the other riders that he's done it with let on to much of the personal life, but with incidents that's happened recently and whatnot, I thought it was a great time to actually open up about some of the personal problems that definitely not only me and definitely a lot of professional athletes and motorcycle racers deal with. And it's gone really well. I mean, one of the videos on, I don't know if it was Instagram or TikTok, it got something ridiculous, like 150,000 views. I think it was TikTok. And loads of comments and shares and favorites and stuff. And it just shows that people know what I'm talking about is real. It's easy to sort of sit there and be a tough motorbike racer and it's all glamorous and I do this and then, go mountain biking every day and cycling, and it's not actually like that for a lot of people. It's hard graft, and it's emotionally draining as well.
In what way?
Well, I'd say the last couple of years I've had it fairly difficult with teams and whatnot. I have to find all my own. I have to find all my own sponsors. I have to fund all the racing myself, and a lot of the time the outside world doesn't seem to see that. It just looks that, Joy's joined the team, or now he's left. They don't understand that them teams that I've signed for maybe wanted 50, 60, 70,000 pounds for the year. And it has to be paid in installments. And then suddenly, you might not get a great result or something. And suddenly one of your sponsors says, look, I don't want you to either continue with this team, or if you do continue with this team, we're not going to fund you anymore. And that's what happened in the British Superbike Championship when I was riding for the NP team. I think Neil's a great bloke and he's there for the right reasons. And I really enjoyed the Challenger Superbike. But after a lot of sort of like mechanical failures and stuff like that, so two of my sponsors just said, look, we don't want to continue with that. And that's why I left. I don't just, join a team and go, oh, this is crap, I'm leaving. There's always reasons behind it. And that's what the outside world doesn't see. It mainly comes down to financial things. But sometimes it can be other things, like just not getting on or political things, different sponsors agreements and whatnot. But I don't think I've ever actually left the team or halfway through a season just because, things weren't working out with my results or I didn't get on with someone or something like that. Because I'd say I'm like a fairly loyal person. I'd rather stick something out and try and make something good of it than just jumping ship all the time. But it's a shame the outside world doesn't see that, and it makes every time someone leaves a team, it's always, he's been sacked or he's a bell end and he's left. So yeah, we could talk on for ages and ages about all the stuff like that. But
is it difficult to get that story across still, do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it's difficult because, like I was saying about the from the outside world, everything looks so easy. Like you sign for a team and that's it. You go and race for a season, but it's not. You might sign for a team, and like I said, financially, then you need to find 70 grand to pay that team, and that's like little money. I know some teams in British Superbike are probably asking for 100 grand plus, and obviously that's way out of what I could afford to do. But then, yeah, I could go on for ages about that, talking about financial stuff. But
sometimes it's not the way, is it? It's the fact that the spectre of it is there. I don't think it's the right thing to go into the details about financial side of it. That's personal to any rider and team, and I would never ask about that. There's certain things that I want to know. There's certain things that aren't worth the listeners knowing, if that's the case, because we don't know about their earnings and their contracts where they work.
No, we don't. No.
So it's the right thing not to pursue that. But the important thing is the perception from the outside for me, which, having been in the paddock for the best part of 10 years now in different ways, you see that side of it, and it comes to contract negotiation times and it comes to sponsorship time. And you get to this time of year and you're looking on Facebook and you're looking on Instagram, and there are riders saying, we need help for the season's coming round. If anybody would like to get on board and help us out, I've got space on my lid, I've got space on the bike, wherever. Because it's the old Tesco thing, isn't it? Every little really does help.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one because, as you say, we don't know what the teams, what contracts they have with their sponsors and whatnot. But it just seems to be getting more and more. Like, I won't mention any names, but I got offered a ride this year, and I wasn't allowed to promote any of my own sponsors on the bike, and I was still wanted to supply like £80,000 to the team. And I said, well, that's great, but how am I going to find £80,000 without advertising? I can't sell 80 grand's worth of advertising just off my lid. It's like, and then I don't know where people get.
Just carry on about with the
yeah. That's basically it. And I people want stuff back for the money.
It's true, they do.
It's impossible for me. Imagine me going to my sponsor, said, I've been offered this ride, really good ride in BSB or whatever. Can I have 80 grand? And they say, well, yeah, maybe. But what are we going to get? Oh, well, you can have a sticker on my lid.
That's the bit, is what do you get back for it?
So I don't get it. Don't get me wrong. It's all great teams and stuff. You get what you pay for, but I haven't got 80 grand.
Where would you go about trying to find that?
If I knew that,
you'd be doing it.
If I knew that, I'd have a massive articulated lorry with 74 racing on the side of it. I'd be doing every round of BSB, but I haven't cracked that one yet.
Maybe you need to start looking at it. I'm going to try and start this video.
Maybe I could employ you. You seem to be good with all media and stuff.
Do you think?
I don't know. That's what you did for the last couple of seasons, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I did a bit of social media and I did a little bit of, a little bit of press releases and stuff like that. But that's as good as I get. I don't know the commercial side, not as much as you do, anyway.
I don't know nothing when it comes to stuff like that. I'm still learning. One thing that I have realised about sponsorship, though, been around the paddock for a long time, is it all works the same. Whereas I'm offering someone something for maybe like £5,000 or £10,000, which is like a big sponsor for me, really.
Yeah.
But then you've got the top teams are offering the same thing, but they're offering it for £100,000. And it's just all the same, just in numbers. Like, it doesn't change. It's not like people are doing anything different. It's just that don't quote me on this because Ash, my manager, looks after.
Don't quote me on it. You know you're on a
but
podcast,
say if someone
right?
pays like £8,000 for a certain space on the bike and levers and stuff,
Yeah.
it's the same for say one of the big teams in BSB. I don't want to mention any names and bring anyone into it, but it's just they'll be paying £80,000 instead of £8,000.
Is that not down to exposure?
I suppose it's down to exposure. I'd say they also have a lot of corporate stuff that they can offer, which with one of my sponsors once, they did want to add all this stuff. But when we worked out actually the costs of what it had cost for me to take like 10 people to a BSB race or a TT and supply them with a 3-course meal and champagne and everything, it wouldn't actually be worth the money that I was gaining from that sponsor.
No, it wouldn't.
For offering all of that.
Nowhere close.
It would only work if I had 10 sponsors all wanting that corporate thing. And then you'd be able to buy your own rig and do it all yourself. But like I say, always from the outside looking in, looks glitz and glam, but it's really not. It's all just been paid for somewhere along the lines.
Somebody's got to pay for it somewhere.
Yeah, so it's getting paid for somewhere, and yeah.
It is a difficult way, and it is a bit of a spectre of it that people paying to go racing is always going to be sort of hanging over the paddock, whether it's road racing, whether it's BSB, World Superbike, even MotoGP.
Yes.
And Formula One. People are paying millions to go racing in Formula One.
Yeah.
It's not a BSB thing. It's not a support class thing. It's just a sports thing in general, which makes it really difficult for everybody. And something that I know quite well is that you can pedal a bike. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
I'm not sure about pedaling.
You know what I mean.
Yeah,
you can pedal a bike around. I've seen you at Scarborough and I've seen you at the TT and places like that. And you're not too shabby, let's be fair.
It's I've had a really up and down road. I just said it on the video that we just did with Motion
which
Focus.
is available on YouTube
it's
and places like that.
Watch.
Yeah, it is.
My racing seems to have been like the picture that goes around on Facebook. You know where you got the tip of the iceberg above the sea, and you've got what everyone sees, and it's like a tiny little tip. But then underneath, you've got like miles and miles of like everything that's gone on behind the scenes, which no one sees because you just, number one, either you're hiding it or you just don't want them to see that side of things.
It's 5%, 95%, isn't it?
And it started off great, sort of like my road racing career. When I started road racing in 2017, I sort of like instantly just gelled with it.
Yeah.
But I was very young at the time. I was 18 years old. I was the youngest ever competitor to the TT. And your mind works differently then. I was full gas all the time. Like, I was lucky. At the time, I didn't think I was. I thought I was being really calculated and whatnot. But when I look back at it now, I can't have been, because I went to like the Ulster, and first time there was like maybe like 2 seconds off what the leaders were doing at the Ulster, and that's like a 10-mile lap or whatever.
It's not bad at all, is it?
And then I won both national races there. I had like podiums at Armoy. What else did I do? Podiums at the Southern 100.
Aberdare.
Yeah, Aberdare. It all came sort of like too easy, if you like. And I was lucky enough at the time. But I had a lot of help from my dad. He's got a fish and chip restaurant on the outskirts of York on the A64. Plug it. Thompson's Fish Restaurants on the A64 York. Oh, I wonder if he'll let me live rent free this week now, seeing as I've plugged him.
There you go. This is how these things work.
And at the time, business was really good. I mean, it's still good now, but just the price of everything's elevated massively. And at the time, he was paying for the majority of my racing. I maybe had like 30% of it coming in from elsewhere, from sponsors. But he was the main man behind it, funding it and whatnot. So I kind of had it fairly easy. But I was also really fast at the time as well. So it was just a combination of both. And that really worked. And then the following year after, I like won not loads, but I won quite a lot of races and like lap records at the Southern 100. Then that double podium at the Northwest, top 5 at the TT. All this success
Don't come by accident, you know.
No, exactly. It doesn't come by accident. But ever since then, obviously we can touch on it. We can touch on it later. But then I had a lot of personal struggles coming towards the end of
You're okay.
Sorry, someone's been rude there.
I can't hear a thing.
Anyway, but towards the end of 2018, midway through 2018, I started developing like some personal struggles.
Yeah.
Like we said, we can touch on that side of things later. And then I kind of basically just stopped racing, and that was it. I like I said, retired, gave up, and whatnot. And since then, I've been constantly building back up to where I was. But I definitely think I'm in a much better place now to go racing, because it's not been handed to me on a plate.
No.
Everything I've got in racing from the last sort of 3 years, I've had to work for myself, as in working, 60, 70 hours a week, spending all my own money to go racing, going around and scraping the barrel with sponsors. And like I say, everything was been done by myself. Don't get me wrong, my dad still helps me. He goes with me to pretty much every race.
Yeah.
But as a financial side of things go, I have to source it myself. And when you're doing that, you leave yourself open to what's the word? To be screwed over, basically.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
For others.
Yeah, opportunity for others. Like me spending. Yeah. Like I say, I've spent everything I've got on racing, literally everything, because I believe in myself. And like I say, it leaves yourself open to be screwed over by teams and whatnot, and then be left with nothing again.
There's a lot of riders in that same situation now, but
Yes.
I think it's not
And don't get me
refreshing.
wrong,
So I'd rather go on.
there's riders in the same situation that I've heard of, that I've seen growing up, that have been screwed over for like £250,000 and stuff like that. Families that have remortgaged the house. I can't remember the. Well, I'm not. I shouldn't. I won't mention it anyway. But there was a guy when I was growing up, when I was racing Aprilia Super Teens, that my dad knows, that got offered a ride to go and ride for some Kawasaki team in BSB or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They said, go up to him, look, we think you're. It's all bullshit. They say, oh, we think your rider's talented. We want him in our team. And suddenly, the family's like, right, yeah, whatever it takes. Yeah, it's going to cost you $200,000. These people remortgage the house. They sell everything. They sell up. They remortgage the house. They go and live with the parents or whatever. Give this team $200,000. They do 3 races, and then they say it's not working out, and that's it, gone. And I've seen it happen multiple times. That's probably the biggest scale that I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
But it happens everywhere in BSB, in road racing, where teams will sign you up for a season, take your money, and then say that's it.
Are they not performance related though?
They say it's performance related, but then
I've got to sit on the fence on this one and just play
they say
devil's advocate.
They say it's performance related, but then there's nothing in your contract to say there's nothing in your contract saying if you don't win this race, you're going to be sacked.
Okay.
How can you describe performance related? How can you describe performance related due to bad bike setup or
true enough,
or stuff that's happened within the team that not allows you to perform? It's that happened a lot this year. And as we keep hinting on, from the outside looking in, it's only the rider. He's the guy that takes all the shit for the poor performances. It's never, oh well, what about, he's been using an old engine because the team haven't either got the financial support to give you a good engine, or you're just using worn out parts and stuff and on a worn bike. But no, it's always the rider. It's Joey that's poor performance all the time.
The difficulty that I've seen this year, being out of the TT for 2 weeks, you were riding for Wilson Craig. It was going to be your big step into road racing with an established team, and one that will take you forward is the one that was the idea, wasn't it, in the beginning? And when I saw you at the TT, your body language looked anything like that you were enjoying it.
You're 100% right, and that's what everyone said, and that's what I become to realise during practice week at the TT. Unfortunately, I can't. You can put this in, I'm not saying cut it out of the podcast, but I can't really speak much about the Wilson Craig team, because every time I try and speak the truth, I get really nasty messages on WhatsApp and Facebook from the team.
Well, let's not go down that road then.
No, I'm happily to put that in because I want everyone to know. But it's not from what it seems from the outside looking in. I haven't got anything to say really regarding that team. I think everyone in the team was really welcoming. It's a really well family-run team, and obviously the Wilson Craig label did it a lot. Sold it to me as well. But things didn't work out.
No.
Sometimes things don't work out. Unfortunately, this had to come down to financially as well. But not from my side. I'd paid everything up that I needed to pay.
Yeah.
And didn't get what I was promised. And that's the top and bottom of it. I'd like to go into detail and say more about how they made me feel at the TT and stuff. Like you say, I really wasn't enjoying it.
You used to ride past our awning because as you came into the holding area,
yeah,
and as you came into the holding area, you basically headed for our awning,
yes,
then swung a right, and you were right on the end of the row. And I know it was 4 years since you'd been there, and it was the first time there on the big bike as well.
First time there back, and it's hard to say because it just didn't work.
That's fair.
It just didn't work. I just felt like everything was a little bit false. You know, like people's attitude and everything towards you. Everything just seemed a little bit false. And it was great up until the TT. Like I say, everyone in the team's great. They welcome you like family. But during the TT, things just it was just a funny atmosphere there. And I stopped enjoying it. And, you know, with motorbike racing, as soon as you stop enjoying it, and as soon as you stop, you know, messing about in your helmet, smiling and popping wheelies and that kind of thing, you might as well stop. I haven't actually said much about this, but like halfway through with TT before the race, I got pulled aside, and not in a bad way. I can understand because we weren't getting the results, and I was told, look, we don't want you to race by the team, so just don't think it's a good idea. You don't think your head's in it, and they were right. My head wasn't in it. It was probably in hindsight now, I wish I'd have said yes. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, but because of the racer in me,
of course.
I'm there to race. I carried on going, and probably the wrong thing to do because the results didn't do anything justice. It just made me.
Which race was that pulling you out of? Senior?
Pulling me out of the senior race. Yeah.
Because what was it like in terms? Because I mean, you no doubt you were quick there on that. You've done top fives on the Super Twins.
Super Twin. I've done like 124
you've done
mile an hour, I think, on a 623.
123 on a 600.
On a 600, yeah.
You didn't get anywhere near that on the big bike.
Didn't my fastest lap time on the
115?
Big bike? No, 119.
19. Sorry,
bike.
My apologies.
Yeah, in that was in practice.
That's why it didn't show up on the results.
Did 119.9 mile an hour in practice, and I did like 118 or 117 on the 600. But as I hinted back to then, when I was doing the fast laps and stuff at the TT, and it came so easy, like say when I did that 123, I think was the best on the 600, it felt like so easy.
Not shabby.
Yeah, and it felt like I could have done 3 or 4 mile an hour faster if I actually tried. Whereas I went to the TT this year, and although everyone said there was no pressure on me coming back to the TT and everything, that's what it was. I've never felt pressure like it.
Because of the team?
Because of the team, I think, yeah.
And not a reflection on the team, but because you're under... You Cameron Donald's ridden for them.
I felt pressure.
Guy Martin's ridden for them.
I'm not gonna lie, I was also put under pressure by the team as well. Halfway through the TT saying we need to get results, like this isn't on, and not getting a bollocking, but been told. And as soon as that happened, I just hated every second of it. I was riding round tight going, right, push, and you go slower.
Of course you do.
And that was it. That was the top and bottom of it. Like I say, nothing against anyone within the team. It's water under the bridge now.
I'm not looking for dishing the dirt and stuff like that. I just want the story from your side.
I just, more than anything from me, I'm not slagging anyone off, but it's just the truth. People are not hiding anything anymore. Like, this is the truth about racing, and that's what happened this year. And like I say, holding no grudges. Past is the past, present is the present. We just need to move forward now, and they can do what they're doing, and I need to improve myself and get back to enjoying my racing again, and just for an example about enjoyment, I've got my new little CRF 150 supermoto bike. One of my sponsors helped me buy it. And I just go out on that. I go out maybe twice a week now. There's a spot in Wakefield, literally only a few miles from where we are now, an indoor track, and they all go there on a Friday night on
Harley
supermoto.
McCabe goes there, and a few of the
And
lads
I've
get there, don't
never
they?
had so much fun just messing about, and that's when you know you're starting to enjoy your racing again, and you're doing it for the right reasons. Like I can go there with and just ride round for the full 4 hours, like just come in, top her up with fuel, and just go around, and every single lap you're like messing about, either doing skids or popping wheelies or knocking someone off, or you're getting knocked off. Honestly,
That's better. You've got the other side of it as well.
Or getting knocked off, and go there every other Friday night, and like I say, it's just the best fun ever, and it's great to get back to that, because last year I didn't really have any of that. It was kind of just all I was doing was like trying to raise for funds to go racing, because I had to find a lot of money, and just sort of be like prim and proper and do everything that the team told me I needed to do and whatnot, instead of just being a child again and going and racing for the right reasons. And I think this year will be a great year for me, just going back to the roots of me and my dad in the van, going racing out of a little awning, and that's where I do best, because I'm enjoying myself pulling wheelies and that kind of thing.
Here's a question for you. In the video with Rich at Motion Focus Media.
Did you watch all of that?
I watched it.
Full thing.
I watched
Long,
it.
isn't it?
I watched it.
Great. It's great. I'd honestly reckon. Again, I'll plug
Hang
it
on,
again.
stop plugging it. This is my podcast now.
Plug it again. Watch your story, Joey Thompson, YouTube. Hit it up.
After
Go
you've listened to this.
After you've listened to his podcast, of course.
On the podcast, you talk about being diagnosed with Asperger syndrome.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that teams maybe don't know how to understand what you need?
Yeah, 100%. It's a difficult one, really, because the condition itself has only been quite highly known about for maybe the last sort of 20 years. So a lot of team managers and stuff know about the condition and know about autism and whatnot, but we don't know anything really about it. We just know it's a condition that exists.
But no signs and
Yeah,
signals
I think a lot
on
of
how
people
to deal.
think. I think a lot of people just think, oh, he's diagnosed with some learning difficulty, and although that is a true statement, it's so far from the opposite, because it doesn't mean I do anything. I don't know the right way to put it, but it just means certain things have to be certain ways, and it can sound so diva-ish or silly, but it's just certain things like timings. I always like to have a little board in the awning with times that we're going to do things.
Perfect.
And people don't like that. And I just don't know how you can't want that, but it's you need to relax and that kind of thing. And I'm like, that makes me relax. And no one seems to understand that. And just little things like with some teams and people that I've ridden for in the past, they say things and then it doesn't appear, and then I want to know why. There has to be a reason why that thing didn't happen, or we didn't get that person to work for us, and they just don't want to say. And I need to know these things.
But it also removes your filter a little bit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Everyone always says I've got no filter, and I just say what I think, and it's the best way. What's the point in hiding how you feel? Because it's just going to be worse in the long run. You might as well just say what you think, as long as it's broadcastable.
As long as it helps you understand the situation. It's not knowing what to say; it's knowing when to say it. Sometimes that's a secret.
But back to the teams, it's never going to change really for a long time, because the condition isn't well
documented.
Yeah, documented and stuff, and especially not in like the motorsport scene, or really in sports much at all. It's mainly only in sort of like schools and stuff where we try and help stuff like that. But it's never been a hindrance to me once I found out that I had it. Before I knew that I had Asperger's, that's when things were a little bit difficult, because I didn't understand why why these things would wind me up, and no one, like my close family and things, just thought I was crazy or stupid because these things wound me up. So it was only once I actually got diagnosed that I realised, okay, that's why he likes a routine. That's why he does this. That's why he does that. That's why he gets annoyed when this happens and whatnot. And so once you realise that you've got that condition, you can kind of use it to your advantage. Like, I'm the most self-motivated person when it comes to motorbike racing. I'd say a lot of people, to be fair, I'd say almost everyone would have given up racing and gone done something else. Have they have been through what I've been through, and all the stuff that's gone on. I can't see many people that have said, you know what, I'm still going to keep going. So yeah, I think it's helped me a lot in my racing. I definitely wouldn't be sat here and had the achievements that I have had in the past if it wasn't for that condition.
How do you use it to motivate you? How do you use it to your advantage versus someone that hasn't been diagnosed with it? What does it do to spur you on in that sense?
Well, because of the condition itself, it makes... I haven't actually researched it massively, but from what I know and what I've been told by when I went to see a psychologist and whatnot, is I can travel all my energy and focus into one thing, and I don't get sidetracked by anything. Whereas a lot of people, you'll be doing the motorbike racing, and then they might like golf, and they might like, I don't know, going out partying and doing all these things.
Take Kyle Ryde, for instance. Motorcycle racing, darts and snooker.
Yeah.
He's equally as good at darts and snooker nearly as he is on the bike.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. A lot of people have so many other passions and things that they want to do. Whereas for me, my whole life, it's only ever been bikes because of this condition. Like, from as long as I can remember, like, I can't remember a time in my life where it hasn't just been bikes, where there hasn't been bike pictures on my wall, where I haven't been collecting all the Valentino Rossi little models and lining them all up. I can't think of it. That's all I've ever done. It's all I've ever known. And at one stage in my life, when I stopped racing, I kind of like resented that a little bit. I was like, I wish I had something else. Like, tried everything. I've tried kayaking. I bought a kayak. I've bought expensive mountain bikes. I've bought golf clubs. I've done all this stuff.
Did you go into personal training at one point?
Yeah, and I'm actually still at some point I am going to try and get that back up and get back up and going, because I'm really into the fitness side of things, and I do enjoy that. But as always, just racing takes over, and I can't do the two. And I think that's probably because of the Asperger's. I just can only really put all my energy and focus into one thing, and that's only ever been racing. Whether it's been actually racing itself, or even just watching racing, or knowing stuff about racing. Like, I'm such a big geek. I'll watch races from like 30 years ago at the TT and stuff, and I'm into stupid stuff. There's probably other people listening to this podcast that aren't diagnosed that are going, I do that about something or other, and think, and that's what's good about this podcast and good about speaking out. I'll watch racing and I'll look at braking markers, what someone was doing 30 years ago, and go, how can he brake that late on a bike on a bike that's 30 years old, and I can only just do that now on, do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I take so much notice of everything. And my dad does sometimes. My mum always says, how do you know that? Because I'll remember the stupid little things, like something that happened like 7 years ago. There's something completely random, and I'll remember that.
But it's your focus.
Yeah, it's on.
It's what motivates you to get up in the morning.
Yeah, 100%.
When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed August, about September 2018. So I was still like 20 years old. So I'd gone through my whole sort of educational life.
Yeah.
For all my teenage life as well. Not knowing. I always knew I had a bit of something wrong with me, but I always thought it was like, like ADHD or something like that. Or I never crossed my mind once having been on like the autism spectrum, if you like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it only made things better when I found out, to be honest with you, because then everything clicks. So yeah,
that's what I was kind of working the way towards, because all of a sudden somebody's giving you almost a golden ticket for you to understand why you think and react to things the way that you do.
Yeah. And the only thing it changed was I'd kind of know why I was feeling this certain way or why I was getting wound up or whatnot. But like team managers and whatnot and other people around you, maybe it might be like work colleagues or something like that. They didn't know. So that's when it got a little bit difficult. And whenever you tried speaking to someone about it, they always thought that you was using it as an excuse as to why you've been that way, but it's really not. Like, I understand sometimes things can't be done, but it was always only ever little things like timings and stuff like that, and just being told the truth by people and not having things sugar-coated. Because I think that's one of the worst things for autism and Asperger's, is when people sugarcoat things and not tell you exactly how they are, and then it turns out not to be what they've said, and then suddenly you're like, why is it not like that? Why has this not happened? Because they sugarcoated it and said it was going to be this, and this, when really it was only going to be this.
Yeah.
And
so
that's
where
the
you're
main
going,
thing.
you've got black or you've got white.
Yeah.
The grey area in the middle.
No, I don't like it.
You don't like the grey
No.
area. You like the black or the white.
Yeah,
it's
and
that's
that's the same with absolutely anything in my life.
Yeah.
Whether it's family, relationships, ownership of things.
Yeah.
It's black or white. It's either yours, it's theirs, or you're going to do this and that. And I don't know why that should be so difficult. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? It's not a particularly common way to think.
No.
But it's actually the right way to think.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
I'm a bit more, I live my life a little bit in the grey area.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm quite
And
laid back.
most people do. Yeah, yeah.
But having the ability to do that is quite refreshing, to be able to go, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Can we do that? No. Whereas I'd be like, well, we can have a look at it and see how we get on. But you'd be just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Or yes. And one thing that that I picked up on in the video, I'll not mention it again. Plugged it 4 times.
Sorry, Rich.
One thing that I picked up on, and you talked about in your youth how much you looked up to Guy Martin. Guy Martin was your hero.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of similarities between you both in terms of your outlook and how you go about life.
Yes.
There's a lot of similarities between the two, more so than you probably realised when you was your idol when you were growing up.
Guy's just been a lot more successful.
You need a farm and a big tractor.
In all aspects of life, he's got better chops than me.
Since when?
Chops, big sideburns.
But you've got a mullet, mate. You can't not grow chops if you can't grow chops
fair,
if you're gonna have a little.
Okay,
with the shaved side.
The mullet irons that out. We're equal on chops and mullets.
Exactly that, and yours is still growing forwards when Guy's isn't.
No, I've got a lot of respect for Guy. Like what he's done off the back of motorcycle racing. He's great. I think he's just done really well from bike racing. When I was younger, like as I said in that video, there was a bit of like animosity towards it because when I was a lot younger, he was literally like worshipped Guy Martin. It sounds so cringe when I'm talking about it now. You know when you go and like race someone. But I did, when you're young, you do things like that. I can imagine when you were young, whether it was bikes or something or football.
Football, same. But I still like it now.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I just don't worship any motorcycle races, apart from myself.
Pecco Bagnaia. Pecco's my boy. I would struggle to.
I like Martin.
He's a great rider.
He's the definition of like one tough mother.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Jorge Martin's
crashes
a great
that he's
rider.
had and just come back. I just think he's a great rider.
I don't struggle to. I don't think there's anybody particularly in the BSB paddock that I struggle to speak to. I fully appreciate what I get to do.
Yes.
And getting to do this here with you, for me, it's a privilege.
Yes.
It's not just something we do on a Monday afternoon on the outside of Castleford at Escape. It's a privilege to sit here and listen to you tell your story in the same way as it was, it doesn't matter who I talk to, whether it's Davey Todd, whether it's Josh Brooks, it doesn't matter. The privilege is there. But if I had to sit, I couldn't do this with Pecco, I don't think.
No, what? We should just be a bit more in awe of him.
Yeah, I don't think he knows where Castleford is.
No, I don't think he'd come into a Spoons either.
Pack a banana and spoons.
Imagine him in here. Oh, wow.
He'd have a fit, wouldn't he?
What were we talking about before we got sidetracked?
Oh yeah, we don't be doing too much of that. It was the diagnosis and how it then allowed you to understand after the difficulties that you'd had in 2018 of not wanting to do what you do and struggling to get out of bed and to basically to function.
Well, we're actually talking about Guy Martin when we got sidetracked, weren't we?
See, you were paying attention.
We were paying attention. No, it was just like, I'm going to say, he's telling me this now, but I think I've just spoke about this. But no, it was just Guy Martin in my younger years. My dad actually sponsored a race at Oliver's Mount, so we got some like paddock passes and whatnot. And I can't I definitely went in to speak to him. I can't remember whether I had a picture that I wanted him to sign, or I just wanted a photograph with him. And I think he was in, I think it was Hydrex colours that he was in, Hydrex Honda colours. And he was parked opposite where the little Irish bar was. And me being a little, like, I wasn't a cocky kid, but whatever. The barrier was like slightly open and whatnot. And he was stood in there. No one was in there. So I just sort of went round, walked in. I was like, excuse me, mister. Can I have a picture or can you sign this or whatever? And he just said a straight up no.
No, black or white. It's black or white.
I suppose. Black or white. It was like,
you can come back later. No. It's just yes or
I
no.
suppose, now I think about it, that's probably, anyway. He just said straight up no, and I thought, like, you're no longer my favourite rider.
That's
I
it.
went on to like Gary Johnson or someone after that.
There's a role model.
Gaz
Gaz not a model.
It's just not even a joke, though, because obviously people forget how like young I am, and when I was sort of like 8-9 years old, they were in their prime of racing. So it's like people are like, he's so young, but I don't even think I'm only 24.
I thought so.
Yeah, 24.
So not old by any stretch.
No, it's not old by any stretch, but considering when I started my road racing career, I was 18 years. 18 years and 3 months I was.
There's only the likes of Jim Hind really that's doing that now, and Jim's 21, isn't he?
I don't know how old Jim is. I think he's about 2 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Does he listen to the podcast?
Yes, he does.
It's like another, a little bit similar to that. He mentioned it to me when we got stopped at the TT this year, and I thought, I don't really speak that much. He seems a really quiet lad, but he pulled up next to me and he goes, do you remember 4 years ago when you signed them knee sliders for me at Cadwell Park? And then he's just absolutely smoked me at the TT. And I was like,
you remembered you had made an impression on him, you see?
Yeah, so he'll, if he's listening, send me a message about that because I find it funny.
He does. I've an awful lot of time for Jim. Awful lot of time. But talk to me then about, while you're talking about the TT, I messaged you yesterday and I said to you, what is your favourite section of the TT?
I thought I could.
Have you written this down as well?
No, I haven't written it down. I'm just seeing. I've got your notes, but you're I'm just seeing where we're at.
It goes all over the place. I wondered what you were looking at.
That's another trait of Asperger's. I can talk for England, but I can't just talk off the bat. I have to know an idea of what we're going to be discussing. If you came in here now, I'd be crapping my pants if you hadn't sent me a little bit about what we were going to talk about.
And I'm not going to throw you any left. There's the last 2 questions I haven't given you a heads up on because I don't give anybody a heads up on the last 2 questions. They're not difficult.
But back to the TT, I was losing sleep over it last night, thinking about it because there's nowhere. To be fair, I don't really like the run from Ginger Hall through to Ramsey because it's just a little bit too rough for me.
A few people have said that.
And the strobing effect of the trees and whatnot.
Yep.
Struggle to see where you go in and see the curbs and stuff. So I'm always really cautious through there. But I'd say for me, it's very generic. It's you run down Bray Hill and the compression at the bottom. So you're coming down the road. It's great off a standing start lap as well because you haven't... You're just going so fast, so quick. Like usually this year we got a practice lap, which I thought was bizarre. Like it's just a weird going on. Don't know if we're going to still do it, but I just thought, why would you have a practice lap like an hour before the race? You're just asking for something to happen, aren't you? And not being able to get back.
I thought that was a bit strange.
But anyway, up until then, with the race, you've got no practice, no warm-up. The fastest speed you've probably gone that day is maybe like 30 mile an hour driving from Douglas Prom after you've had your brekkie or whatever. up to the paddock, and then you dump the clutch, and within half a mile you're doing like 150 mile an hour or something crazy like that. So that's a big eye opener, and you get a real buzz out of that. But you run down there, you're just looking for your points. You've got like manhole covers and stuff that you aim for, because you can't see the curbs because of the way the road is going into the horizon. You can't actually see where the curbs are
because of the crown of the road.
Yeah, all you see is like the tarmac going off into the distance.
Yeah.
So you have to use other things like lampposts and stuff. And Milky taught me, when you're going over here, you just want to be heading straight towards that lamppost. And once you get over, then the road opens up and you're in the right position. So I'm always looking out for things like that. But it always feels good when you get that nailed. You get to the bottom of Braille, you get a nice compression. Don't want your bike too soft, otherwise you hear everything compress at the bottom of there. You hear the belly pan and all sorts scraping. So usually you get a nice little compression there. And one nice wheelie over Agos, and then another one. And if you're feeling fruity, you can play with it the whole way until you need to brake. But this year I was that uptight. I was like, right, back brake, get it down, get going. But every other year in the past, I've just held it the whole way, just on the back wheel. Sometimes even ever stand up, and honestly, that's the best way. So you enjoy it
because it puts a smile on your face.
Puts your smile on your face, and you're not uptight. As we keep hinting on, I'd say a happy bike race is a fast bike race.
Always. I watched it Rencullen this year on the Wednesday night, and what's that like to go through?
Rencullen. Oh, so you're coming through the left-hander before Rencullen jump. And when you're doing your newcomer laps and whatnot, Milky Quail and Johnny Barton always drill into you. When you're coming over here, you have to make sure the bike stood up for the jump. I think I got maybe a newcomer one year. Maybe got killed over there. Sort of coming over the jump, still on the side of a tire.
Yeah.
And then you get kicked out. I don't quote me on that. I know someone has been killed there. So that I think they always drill into you. When you come out of there, stand it up, stand the bike up. Even if you're going slower, just make sure you push on your outside peg and make sure it goes straight. So you do like a straight jump, not a motocross scrub or whatever. So every time I go over there, that's all I'm thinking of, and it's great. It's great what they do for the newcomers, and like I wouldn't have been able to go and race for TT without the advice of Milky and Johnny. Don't get me wrong, it's quite hard to take in all the stuff that they're saying.
It is. I've watched Milky's video, and I'm sat there, and it makes my head hurt.
But the best thing about it is they teach you the places that you can get hurt. Well, you can get hurt everywhere, but they teach you the places and make it stand out, the places to watch out for, which is Rencullen jump and Balacry jump. They say, you need to watch out for the wind. First lap, take it a little bit easy, because sometimes when you jump that, the wind blows you to the outside.
Especially the gap in a fence that you're not sure of, or something like that, where the wind can come through.
And they teach you all different places like that and really drill into you, make it stand out. So when you're riding there, it always comes into your head and you don't forget. And that's, I'd say, the best thing that they did. As far as going fast round there and actually learning the track, I'd say it's the same for most riders. You have to do that yourself. You have to work out your own sort of braking markers. You've got reference points, but you have to work out for yourself what gears you're going to be in and whatnot. But I think it's amazing what they do to keep people safe as newcomers.
I do think that's underrated, that people, when Josh Brooks goes across, when you went across, when Glenn went across, doing so many laps in the car, which is great. It tells you which way the road goes.
Yeah.
But Milky and Johnny's input, Steve Plater, guys like that, absolutely invaluable to make it a safe couple of weeks for the riders, for the newcomers.
Yeah, I think we've been done quite well the last few years. All the newcomers have been, well, sorry, it's been cancelled, that's why. So this was the first year back, wasn't it? So who was a newcomer this year? We had Glenn, and who else was there?
Oh, now you're asking.
Glenn.
You're not supposed to put me on the spot.
Joe Lachlan, who rode for ILR, the team that I used to ride for.
Yes. For Ian Locker's team, yeah.
Can't think of anymore.
No, I can't. There were a few, but
I think it was only 3 or 4. Anyway, it's great. It's great what they do. That's what it's all about. I think the TT numbers are going to start coming down drastically now. I know they're accepting like 20 or 30 less entries into a big race, which in hindsight it might be a good thing, but it doesn't allow the people. How do I put this? The people that are finishing 40th or 30th, whatever, in a senior TT are still rapid as a road racer.
100%.
And for now, it looks like there's a chance that they're not going to be getting a TT entry. And what do they do then? Because Manx don't do big bikes.
No.
So if you don't get a TT entry, that's kind of like your TT career over.
So how do you, where do you get your buzz?
And
how
you're not
does
allowed.
it work?
And you're not allowed to go back to the Manx for like a certain number of years. So if they don't accept your entry, what do you do then?
Yeah, I think there's still a bit of mileage in that yet, in terms of terms of entries.
Not really, because
No?
I've seen on Facebook last year numerous good road racers that do the TT. Their big bike entries and 600 entries didn't get accepted. The only entry that got accepted was their twin entry. And they said, well, he was coming from America as well. I can't remember his name.
It's a long way to come.
He rides for like Dave Hewson's team or something.
I can't think.
And I think he's American. I think he's Pikes Peak champion. Eric Wilson.
That's him.
I don't quote me on it. Might not have been him, but I did see something on Facebook that his entry doesn't get accepted, and it's
a long way to come to ride a couple of twins.
Yeah. So what do you do then? What do you do then if you don't accept your entry? And how can they say you're fast enough or you're not fast enough? Because, like me, for example, last year was a terrible year, and it was for a lot of reasons that weren't my own fault as well. So does that now mean, he doesn't get a big bike, then he'll never ride a big bike again or something like that? Do you know what I mean? I don't think that'll be the. I don't think that'll be the case at all.
No, me neither.
Maybe if I had like 4 or 5 consecutive crap TTs, but I think the TT as well, looking at the future, like some people might get a bit upset about saying it, but the average age of the TT now is very high, mainly because it's the only. Young people can't afford it. No one's got the money to go road racing anymore. But something's going to have to happen somewhere, because I'd say a lot of the TT riders are like very late 30s, 40s, and 50s. What happens in 5 or 6 years' time? I could imagine 50% of them are going to be retired. So what's going to happen then? There doesn't seem to be many up and coming road racers.
I've had the same thought. Which is when you look at yourself and Jim Hind, and
we're the only ones.
Yeah,
all the rest are it. And Adam McLean.
What's Paul Jordan? Is he late 20s?
I think he's about early 30s now. I know he was late.
That
20s.
wasn't a very long paper round then, was it? That he had.
I know he was late 20s when we were doing our newcomer laps together.
Okay,
so he must be. He'd be 31, 32 now, I think. Sorry, Paul, if you're still only 24.
And I definitely know he's not 24. You're not fooling me on that one.
But there isn't many, like you'd say, is upcoming. I know you've got guys coming in from the Manx and stuff, but they're still not young either.
No.
They're all sort of like 35, 36 plus. So I don't really know. I haven't been around at the time where our successful road racers now were young, if you like. I can't... Was John McGuinness sort of like 20 years old when you came to the TT? I don't know.
No, he's going to be mid-20s, isn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, but I think when you look at the fact that McGuinness now can still run at 50,
yeah, and
still be, I mean, he's got a huge amount of experience, don't get me wrong, but he can still be reasonably competitive at 50. Michael Rutter can be nearly competitive, and I think he is 50. They're similar age, aren't they?
I think there's...
you still got another 24 years.
Yeah, if all goes to plan.
Touchwood.
We know with road racing things is
we do, but all things
everything's a bit unpredictable, and it's the same as everyone in road racing. Like such a dangerous sport, and anything can happen, and it's a long road. I could be a completely different person. I could be a completely different person this year on a bike, and I think I will be. Especially if we tick all the boxes and we go racing to enjoy it. I think everything will be hunky dory. What's a good Yorkshire saying for everything?
It'll be hunky dory, isn't it?
Or everything will be hunky. Is that a Yorkshire saying?
We'll take it as that.
It'll be all gravy.
It's all gravy, baby.
It's all gravy, baby. But no, I think all the ingredients are there, and if mix everything properly, we'll have a good season, and I'll be back on the climbing that iceberg, as I said before. But we just have to just have to make sure everything goes to plan, and just don't make any silly mistakes, not only on track, as in crashing and whatnot, but even sort of like political and who you ride for and what you're associating yourself with. And you can take so many steps back by making one tiny little mistake, as in riding for someone and not doing very well, or riding for someone and then getting bad publicity off that ride and stuff. And then, so we just got to just be really careful with what we do now and make sure everything is it's got my best interests at heart, if you know what I mean, and not just taking something because it's free of charge, or riding for someone because you know where I'm trying to come from. Everything's just got to serve a purpose, and make sure everything's right.
It'll be
for
right
me.
for you and for your dad, for your little team Thompson.
Yes, 74 racing.
74 racing. It's got to be right for you guys, hasn't it? One of the other questions that I asked you: what's been your greatest achievement so far, on or off the bike?
I'd like to say probably like the top 5 on the twin at the TT, because when we went to the Northwest and I got that double podium, it was great, and I led both races until like the second to last lap. To the last lap, second corner. So it was crazy, but I'd never sat on that bike before then.
No.
Everyone actually got a little bit of stick that year because of how fast the bike was, and it was a rocket ship, but also that was the first time I'd sat on it, hence the reason why we were a little bit slower through the turns. And we did a good job. It was for someone's second time there, 19 years old, double podium at the Northwest and whatnot. It's great. But the TT, for me, was like one thing that I've always looked up to, like been watching it since I was like 8 years old, and beating like good names in that year in the twin race. I just think that was like my main highlight, really, was the top 5 at the TT. I spoke about it in the video we've just done, the Southern 100 race that year, where I think I broke the lap record by 1.8 of a second on the last lap. That was once I started gelling with the bike, and then after the Southern 100, I never rode it again. It was a bit of annoying one. That as soon as you gel with something, and then you separate or move on, and that's happened quite a lot in my racing. As soon as everything sort of clicks, something happens, and then either you have to separate or you can't afford to keep it going or something like that. So it's probably one of them moments. But as far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, that's it on that one. That's it on that one.
That's it. As easy as that.
As easy as that.
One thing that came out on the video, Joey, was your time in 2018, where you said in the video you were quite adamant in the fact and the difficulties that you faced in 2018 with mental health, with depression, and not wanting to be who you were, and not having the motorcycle racing, and not having the urge to do that.
Yeah.
What happened through 2018? Talk me through that.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of glad you asked me the question, because I feel like now, with the video going out and stuff, there's quite a lot of people now on social media using me as a bit of an excuse for them to be able to open up now, seeing as now I've done it, because no one talks about mental health and whatnot. And if you'd have asked me this question like a year ago or more, I'd have just not answered it. Nothing to do. Don't know what you're talking about, because I didn't want to talk about it. But now I'm kind of happy that I've opened up about it, and I know a lot of the public and stuff have like sort of suffered similar issues, and because I'm open and talking about it, and I'm supposed to be some tough motorbike racer and whatnot, and I can still get depressed and suffer mental health issues, then anyone can. But yeah, 2018 was difficult for me. It was like I was only young. How old was I then? 19-year-old. It saw a lot of stuff that year, with people getting killed and whatnot. And towards the back end of 2018, I don't know what it was now, but at the time I didn't know. I had like serious depression. I couldn't get out of bed on the morning, and for like maybe 2 months, 3 months, I'd literally just stay in bed all day, because I'd stopped racing at the time. I said I'd had enough of racing, because of like some of the stuff, and just didn't feel right anymore. So I didn't have a job or out, just sort of laying in bed until like 4 or 5 o'clock, and then getting up so no one knew I was depressed. And that cycle went on for maybe like 3 months, until people started to realize. People started to realize that I was staying in bed and whatnot, and not being my normal self, and just a horrible time, really. And eventually I got persuaded. I can't remember, it was my dad was like, look, you have to go to the doctors and tell them what you're feeling. I didn't want to do it because I felt like a lot of people feel, I'm not doing that. I'm stronger than that. I don't need to go to a doctor and tell him that I'm feeling down, that kind of attitude. But eventually I got worn down enough to go. And initially I got diagnosed with like PTSD, and basically just told to, here, take these tablets, get out and put up with it, that kind of thing.
Man up.
Yeah.
That worst phrase now.
Given these tablets, which I don't even know what they were now, but like some kind of antidepressants that the treat, give some like soldiers and stuff sometimes when they've seen stuff and they're struggling with life. And they literally just gave me them and said, on your way. And I took them for like 2 months, and then they made me massively worse. Like, I was depressed before now, and I was almost suicidal after I started taking these tablets. No, seriously, they were awful. I can't remember what they were called now. But not only, they made me more tired as well. They weren't like, don't know much about antidepressants, but they weren't like one of them ones. They were like ones that made you drowsy and everything.
So they weren't uppers.
Yeah, they were like
downers.
They made you like drowsy and everything, and just didn't do anything. So eventually, we paid like quite a lot of money to go and see like a psychiatrist, a psychologist. Spent hours and hours and hours. Must have had like, it was expensive as well. It wasn't like we were going and seeing like an NHS one or something. It was serious job like. And eventually, after like maybe 5 or 6 sessions with all the stuff we've been doing, he immediately diagnosed me with Asperger syndrome. Made me take all these tests and everything, and so that all came out. And we've already hinted on that, so I don't need to go down that. But then I also got diagnosed with severe depression. Maybe stemmed off the back of witnessing some stuff in 2018, because it was a lot for a young mind. And from then it was kind of like, right, how do we get better? And then he sort of wanted me to go on these other antidepressants and stuff, and I was really against taking pills and stuff like that. But eventually you start dealing with things a little bit better, and you start understanding why you're feeling down and whatnot. But I was seriously depressed, like not sad, not upset, like I was proper bad for maybe like a full year. And you get stuck in a cycle. And I know there's people listening out there that are either have suffered with depression or suffering with depression now, and you're stuck in a cycle of you like climbing up a ladder. You've almost got your hand on the top, you're almost better, and then you fall back down again. And it always seems like you're in a constant thing, like you're getting better, then suddenly you're terrible again. And a lot of stuff, while I was really depressed, I was still getting like crap on Facebook and stuff about racing and stuff, like people like giving me grief about why I stopped, and I'm all that kind of stuff, and no one knows what's going on behind the scenes. And I got some seriously like bad messages while I was depressed, and honestly it makes you worse. It's all right putting your shield up and saying, oh, nothing affects me and stuff like that, but it does, especially when you're already sad. And honestly, I had one message once, I blocked him, but after like retired and stuff and stopped racing and whatever, the guy was like, I hope you never race again, and like I hate you and all this kind of stuff.
What?
And honestly, there's some road racing fans out there that are absolutely horrible.
Brutal.
Like, yeah, I saw something yesterday on Ryan Farquhar. Someone was doing something similar to Ryan Farquhar, and he publicised it. And there is road racing fans out there that literally will message you saying, like, I hope you die and stuff like that. Honestly, I swear down, I've received messages like that before.
Absolutely no place. Whether you're the happiest bloke in the world, or whether you've got troubles with yourself.
And then that's the worst. I've only ever seen that once, but you get used to get like quite a few messages when you were down and shit, like depressed, and people are like, "Oh, just saying like you're rubbish, you bad."
There's never any reason to
No,
send anybody
no.
that ever.
But obviously, these people have nothing in their life, and they get a kick out of making someone feel shit. But they don't really see what's going on behind the scenes.
But you're still human.
Yeah, still human.
At the end of the day,
Yeah,
we've still got
human.
feelings, and it's still that's far
Anyway,
too personal
I know.
for it to happen that way. That's ridiculous.
But anyway, I learned to deal with depression and start building myself back up again. But it all came from having to speak about it in the first place, because I know for a fact I'd be in the exact same situation now, or worse. I'd have, maybe tried self-harming or something like that, which I never actually got around to doing. Never really interested me. I was seriously depressed, but I never really thought about doing anything bad. But I'd still be in the exact same situation now, or worse, if I hadn't have spoke up about it and actually gone and got help. And you have to speak up. And if you are feeling bad, there is help out there. I've had friends and stuff take their own lives due to mental health. And a lot of times these people, you wouldn't even think they had anything wrong with them. They're the most happiest, jolly thing. And I'd much rather have someone ring me at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, "Look, I'm really, really down. I'm feeling like this," than them kill themselves. And I think anyone out there would rather receive that phone call than wake up the next morning and your friends taking their own life. So I think let's not be stupid, and let's actually speak about things. If you've got issues, let's talk. And you can't promise much in life, but I can promise you one thing: if you are feeling really depressed and down, and you feel like your life's over, I can't give you a time scale of when it's going to happen, but there is always light at the end of a tunnel, and things will always get better. But you have to start speaking up.
When did things start to improve for you? When did you understand that there was a problem? It wasn't just life.
Yeah.
That there was a problem. What was the catalyst to start improving?
Well, I went through a lot. I sort of actually came back to racing while I was still depressed, and did the classic TT. Well, I wouldn't say I was massively depressed. I was getting better. It was like what I was saying on that cycle, where I was kind of getting better and better and better and better. Then suddenly you'd have another big sort of like depressive stage, and you're all down again for a month. What changed for me? I can't remember exactly where I was, but I was watching. I went to the Northwest in 2019 as a spectator, because I'd finished and I was on like antidepressants and whatnot, and not my normal self. And I remember watching it, and I was just emotional and upset, because I thought everything was done now. Like I said, I've retired from racing. I've got no bikes. We'd sold the bikes and whatnot. I had nothing. But like racing was finished for me now. And I remember watching it and just being like, I can't believe like I've lost all of this. It was like, didn't cross my mind once that I'd ever come back to racing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like it was finished now. Like
that's the decision. That's the black and white.
Yeah, black and white. That's it. It's just never going to happen. I'm done. And then maybe about 3 or 4 months later, I can't remember where I was, but I was somewhere. I'd been taking an antidepressant called sertraline, which I'd been on for like over a year. So I was like kind of heavily on this medication now. But there's a lot of people. It's like the most popular antidepressant. It's like the most popular one, really. But once you're on it for that kind of time, you don't really just come off it. It's one of them ones I'd had like 3 stages of it. So you like up your dose a little bit more. And what I found with that was, it made me extremely happy when I was happy. But if I was getting down, I'd be even worse than I was before I started taking the medication. And I was so up and down and whatnot. And I can understand why they prescribe it for some people, because it gives you a boost, but it wasn't really working for me. But you can't just come off these things. You have to gradually go and speak to your doctor. And I was watching, I can't remember where I was. I wasn't at a race, but I was out somewhere. I might have been at the pub or something, whatever. And like the TT highlight reel came on of racing, and I was watching it, and something clicked in me. I don't know what it was. I was just like, I'm gonna do that again. no matter what it costs, no matter what it takes, I'm going to get back to how I was, because I'm sick of being like this. I'm sick of being on antidepressants. I'm sick of, just living a normal life. I'm sick of eating unhealthy food and not going to the gym. And I just thought it's time to go. I went straight home. I woke up the following morning, chucked all the antidepressants straight in the bin, and went out and did 100 kilometre ride on my push bike, the bike that I hadn't been out on in like a year. And my dad will tell you the story because he remembers it. He said, "Yeah, he did 100k." I showed him it on my Strava.
Yeah.
On my Strava app, and he says, "You can't come off the antidepressants like that. You're gonna go mad." And I said, "Look, I am." I said, "I'm done with it. I'm gonna be back, what I used to be, and this is what we're doing."
So from that mindset, it just took that one thing. And everybody's different. It's not going to happen that way for everybody.
I do not recommend stopping your antidepressant. Honestly, you have to consult with doctors and whatnot. But I'd say I'm a little bit different.
It's your decision.
It was my decision, and I was motivated. I remember I was just going to do whatever it takes. Like, don't get me wrong, for maybe like 2 or 3 months after that, I was still feeling like crap because I didn't take these antidepressants, and I still wasn't right. But I was using exercise and training as my antidepressant, if you like. I was literally, if I was cycling or going to the gym, and I would absolutely overtrain like crazy. So I was absolutely exhausted. So I literally couldn't. I remember coming down the gym stairs and my legs were just like gone because I would train that hard. But when I got home, I was too tired to think of any depressive thoughts or do out silly. But all I wanted to do when I got home was sleep. And I did the same thing on a morning. I was that tired, but I'd just go straight to sleep, then wake up at 6 o'clock and go back to the gym.
But the endorphins helped incredibly.
Obviously, when you train and doing heavy exercise, you get a massive boost and release of endorphins and a chemical called serotonin in your brain, which is what you're gaining from that sertraline anyway. When you take this antidepressant called sertraline, you're just increasing your serotonin levels in your brain. But you can actually get that from training and doing exercise and other things in your life that give you pleasure as well. You get a release of that. And I kind of just used that and didn't give myself any option at all to be depressed. And that's exactly the same as what I do now. I haven't been, I can just deal with it now. I know that if I start feeling bad about something, I just have to stay active and work towards something. That's why I've always got something going on in the background, whether it's something with my work, whether it's a race that I'm doing on my mini bike, or whether it's preparing for the TT. I'm just always ticking over. And that's why, and I think if I can stay like that, always working towards something, I think I'll be depressed free forever. And I think that will be the same with quite a lot of people. I think, if you've got nothing going on and you've given up on stuff, then you are going to be depressed. Because what have you got other than to sit with your thoughts?
It's true.
But yeah, first of all, speak up. And like I say, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Stay active, do some exercise, and less of a person for speaking about mental health. Less of a person for owning up to having issues. And it's the biggest, mental health is the biggest killer in men right now. 1 in 3 people suffer with mental health. And it is it's a proper issue. It's not like,
it is.
It's not like I keep saying, it's not someone being upset and sad or attention seeking. It's an actual problem. It's a disease going on right now. And we need to speak up. And we need the government and the NHS and whatnot to offer more support for these kind of issues. Like, there was nothing for me when I needed it, other than, like I just hinted on earlier, I went to the doctors and said, take these and bugger off.
Which is no answer.
And that made me worse.
Of course it does.
They could have killed me.
Yeah.
Because they did actually make me worse. So
to put you in an even more difficult position than you already were.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more understanding, and there's a lot more awareness for mental health now, for men's mental health. And I think GPs are far more aware of what's needed and to understand just what men are going through.
Yeah,
because it is the old thing of like, I'll grow a pair.
Yeah.
It's not about that anymore.
It's not.
It's never been it couldn't be any further from that.
The grow a pair is if, you've hurt your leg, or your girlfriend's left you or something. Yeah, you get. Do you know what I
I
mean?
know what you mean.
But there's a difference between that and actually being depressed. And don't get me
Absolutely.
wrong, people can get depressed from divorces and whatnot. But there's a difference between upset and angry and actually having depression. It's
Yeah.
two separate things. If you're upset and down, you can still gain pleasure from other things in life. When you're massively depressed, you know it because you don't have nothing's interesting. Like when I was down, I hate racing, don't want anything to do with racing. The worst thing in the world. But it's actually my favourite thing in the
But
world.
it's the one thing in the world that you
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, and that's how I kind of sort of realised it, what I was going through.
I
So,
think understanding the difference, like you say, when you're angry and upset, you can see that outwardly.
yes.
Depression isn't outward in
No.
a lot of cases, as you
No.
said before, that with friends that you've lost and people we know that we've
Yeah.
lost, you wouldn't know on the outside.
Yes.
That's where things are the most difficult because
they mask it.
because the signs aren't there because it's so well masked.
Yeah.
How do you cope now? What are your coping mechanisms for when you feel that things might be sort of dipping?
You see,
a little
I
bit?
thought after what happened this year, when I got left with absolutely nothing after the TT, I thought, oh no, this is the worst thing that could have happened, because I had no motorbikes, I had no money because I've already paid it all out. I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, I've just had the biggest buzz I've ever had at racing around the TT, and now you've got nothing again. But I just thought, you just can't cross your mind giving up. You just have to keep, no matter what it takes, you just got to do what you can to make things right. And luckily, I know not everyone's in my position. I mean, Dad helped me out and got me basically our own bike to go racing, but that gave me something to work towards again. But not only that, you just don't give up on when things go bad like that. I didn't stop going to the gym or stop exercising or just because I got sacked, if you like. I still carried on just as normal, just working towards my own goals, and that helps me. I know for a fact, if for instance, I don't know, TT got cancelled this year and there was going to be no racing at all or whatever, I know for a fact I'd be depressed again because I've got nothing to work towards. I mean, I can try and find something. I'd be able to keep myself occupied somehow with something to work towards, but it'd be a big task, like. So find something for people that aren't sort of into motorsport or whatever, that are struggling. You need to find something that makes you happy, and keep doing it, and do it to the best of your ability, and keeps your mind active. And yeah.
What was the maybe you can answer this question, maybe you can't, I don't know. What was the biggest thing you found out about yourself during that time?
It's a very hard question to ask that, but mainly that I have to be active. Like, I can't deal with not doing anything, and it's the same at home. Like, it is really frustrating, to be honest, because sometimes I'd like to do what everyone else does on a Sunday and watch Netflix all day, and to some people that's a great day. That's a bad day for me. That's me pretty much depressed again, because I've got nothing. I have to be active, whether it's doing things like this, or training, or I'm getting one of my bikes ready to go racing, or even if it's something as simple as going out for dinner with family and then doing something else. But I have to have constant things to keep my mind active, and that is my antidepressant now. I haven't taken an antidepressant or anything like that in about 2 years now, and I'm so much better than what I was, and I'm better than what I was before I even went into that stage, because I know how to deal with things, can control my own emotions a bit better. Sometimes life gets on top of you, but that's when you've got to do the things that help you in that situation. Like, it could be different for anyone else, but for me it's exercising or riding a bike or something like that.
How much, I know we touched on it earlier on in the chat, but once the diagnosis with the Asperger's came in, was that also part of your journey to coming back to happiness again?
I'd say it was a start, but then there was still a long road after that.
Yeah.
There was still maybe another 6 months after that where I was still like heavily on these antidepressants and whatnot, and still really down, and still not really had any interest for racing or anything like that. It was just one of them times that you just did what you needed at that time to get by. Like, still, I had to start working. Working as little as possible, and then just going home and eating and having a few beers.
Just existing.
Yeah, just existing, and that's the worst thing. Maybe some people it might be all right, but that's the worst thing possible for me.
The difference between living and existing.
Yeah. I suppose that's a really fitting sort of quote, if you like, for that. And for me, I just can't deal with that. I've done it before. Like I say, in that time, I've had all that where I've just been lazy and I'd take away every night and didn't do any exercise and went out drinking Friday night and Saturday night, and I got carried out of bars and all that and got into fights.
The winter scene,
yeah,
here at Castleford at Escape.
And I think you soon realise that isn't what you want. Might be good life to some people, but I've had that and I don't want that. I want to be a road racer. I want to be a motorcycle racer, and I want to help people as well by especially talking about this. And that's the kind of person that I am. I don't want to just get by, if you like. I want to do something good.
Well, at the end of the show, we'll pass out on your social media tags.
Yes.
So if anybody if anyone wants to get in touch who might be, not having the best of times.
Yes.
Are they okay to get in touch?
Yeah, well, yeah, 100%. Have had quite a lot of messages recently. A lot of them have go into the filtered inbox and stuff on Instagram. But I'll do my best to get back to you. And if also anyone's struggling, there's a lot of pages out there. There's Mental Health Motorbike, which is a good charity, and they're open to get in touch with them. And there's also your generic charities and organisations like Mind and stuff. And there's lots out there. You just need to look for it. And
it's out there. And if you want to get in touch with the podcast, get in touch with me. I can put you in touch with Joey. There's so many ways. We're all open to listening. Yeah. But as you say, we've signed up for the mental health motorbike training course.
Yes.
In March. So we're on that back end of March. We've got 4 training sessions with them.
Right.
And looking forward to being part of that and being able to help people going forward, because it is important. And it is a friendly face and somebody you can just go like, Joey, I'm struggling, mate. What can I, Dave? Have you got a minute?
Yeah.
Always got a minute.
Yeah.
Especially for that.
Yes.
Always got a minute. Joey, thank you.
No problem.
No
problem.
I really appreciate you opening up on that, because it's not an easy part of your life, and I thank you for trusting me.
No, it's good. It's like I said earlier, I think a year or two ago, or maybe even 6 months ago, I just would not talk anything about it because it was my own personal troubles, and I've still felt a little bit don't want to talk about it because people think I'm a weaker person, but I've soon come to realize that it's not. And there's so many people out there struggling, and you're not a weaker of a person. If I can open up and do this, road racer and whatever stereotype people try and make, road racers to be, and I can suffer with it and speak about it, then anyone can. No matter what you do, you can open up about it. So, and that's what we need to do.
You made your career on the twins and the super sport bikes, and making the step then to the bigger bikes this year and on the super bike in BSB the year before. What's that like as a transition for you?
For me, it's been awful, to be honest with you. It's a shame because we actually, about 3 years ago, me and my dad bought a Suzuki 1000 and bought it with a plan to start adapting to the big bike. Because obviously, me not being a very big lad, I only weigh 10 stone and I'm 5'6". So for me to try and wrestle a 200 horsepower bike that's 200 kilos and whatnot don't get me wrong, there's other people do it. Look at Tasmac and Lee Johnson and whatnot, but it was a big task for me. And I actually started going really well on the Suzuki. I sort of won Thundersport races and started doing like competitive BSB style lap times, and thought, you know what? When the Superbike deal came over, it wasn't going to cost me. It was costing me money, but not a great deal of money for a Superbike ride. And being in the Superbike paddock, it's a good thing to have on my CV, even if the results don't come. And it was just going to do it for the experience, but I just really didn't get on with riding the Superbike with no traction control, no anti-wheelie and whatnot. And that kind of brought me like quite a few steps back, because I lost all confidence in sort of like my throttle control that I'd learned previously on a 600 and riding a bike with a little bit of traction control. This thing, if you touch the throttle, it just snapped. And then I started losing confidence within the bike, and never really gelled the 1,000 since, to be honest with you. I got on all right on Macau, in Macau recently on the Gen 3 BMW when I was riding for Heat Tech. Really well set up bike. And again, just back to what I was hinting at, we literally went to Macau for fun. Like, we went there to pull wheelies, race Macau, get a suntan, and go for a holiday. And I wouldn't say I did amazing, but considering I'd never sit on that bike before, I missed the whole of qualifying and had to start at the back of a grid because we had a slight gearbox issue. And then to go and like be within maybe I think it was like 4 seconds or something of the leaders, which have been there previously before. And I enjoyed every minute of it, from maybe not the quarantine, because we had to quarantine for like 10 days
in the same hotel room.
Yeah, I was stuck in a room with my mate, and don't get me wrong, he's a sound lad, but 7 days, 7 days in a room with a lad, and first day or two it was all right. Took my Xbox over, so we played some Macau Xbox game. I'm not a big gamer, so played a bit of that, had a few beers and got a takeaway and that, and just chilled out. But after 2 days it was difficult. Like, you wouldn't believe how strict it was. I talk to people, it actually gets me wound up because they don't believe me how strict it is. Like, if you leave that hotel, you are getting slammed on the floor and arrested. And seriously, there's police with guns outside the door. But we treated us like we were like, it was serious, like literally.
That's tough.
And patrolling,
real tough.
We call them, actually maybe I can't say that on while we're live, but there was people patrolling the corridors, like of the things, with fully suits, masks, everything.
Proper hazmat gear.
Hazmat. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it might have been something for a Chinese person, so I thought I better not say it. What's a hazmat?
Hazardous materials.
Oh,
so all the hazmat suits.
Yeah, all in hazmat suits. Hazmat suits, patrolling, like serious. Like, you can't even open your door. You're not allowed to open your door apart from when you're doing your COVID test. Shoving something up your nose.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it was strict. Like, I wouldn't like to go and do it again, but like I say,
hopefully you won't have to.
Yeah, I enjoyed every single minute. But it wasn't like, sometimes you go and there's a bit that you don't enjoy. They make you feel really welcome. We did a lot of media stuff, which got a little bit frustrating, actually. I had to have your picture taken, like every 5 minutes you had to have your picture taken with someone or other.
Do you not enjoy that side?
No.
Or a time and a place?
Time and a place. I don't mind doing things like this, but it's when you it's when you get dragged around like cattle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was like. It was like, you have to be on this bus at this time. But I don't blame them in the slightest. The amount of money that it costs to take us over there to race with all our team, it must be per rider, you must be looking at like must be 100 grand.
Yeah.
Per rider.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Because
for freight and shipping and airfares, hotel rooms.
Just flights alone are like 6 grand a piece for the team. So yeah, there must be over 100 grand in shipping and all that kind of stuff for us to go ride around pulling wheelies, and then when we finish, go and jump in pool. So you know what I mean? Like, I can understand why they wanted us to do that, and I don't have any issues with it.
No, of course not.
It's just that sometimes you do feel a little bit like herded cattle. Like year in B, when I did that Superbike thing, I hated that. because you have to do all these media days, and it's just not me. Like I said, I don't mind doing stuff like this where it's relaxed and we're just talking about general chit chat. But when the people are asking you to do stuff that isn't you, like when we did BSB that year, you had to go into a room and we were like, "Oh, tell us something about you," and I was like, "My name's Joey and I own a cafe." And we're like, no, something exciting. And I was like, there is nothing exciting. I'm literally just a working class guy that goes and races motorbikes. Like, not really. Do you know what I mean?
Not a performing monkey, as Guy
Yeah,
would
that's
say.
exactly what I said. I'm not a performing monkey. I'm just a person that races bikes. And that's why I don't, like I say, I don't mind doing this stuff and the video, because it's don't have to do anything that's not me.
No, it's all about you. This is the beauty of it.
Yeah. And that's the only stuff, the downside to racing, as I see it.
So tell me about 2023 now then. What are the plans for 2023? What we're going to see from Joey Thompson this year?
What are you going to see from me?
Where are we going to see you?
You're going to see me at the Northwest TT, dip in and out of British Supersport in BSB. I'd like to do one or two national races, maybe like Armoy or Oliver's Mount, possibly. But my main focus this year is having a strong Northwest and a TT, and that requires me to do quite a bit of testing prior to that, which is going to cost a bit of money. And also, like the first 2 rounds of BSB, get the TT out of the way with, and then see where we're at then. Don't like to plan too far ahead. Like the whole year is always just revolves around the TT, so let's use that as our pinnacle, if you like, and then regroup after that and decide what we're going to do. We might start doing quite well in British. I think on a right bike, which I'm going to be on this year, I do think I can be at the sharp end in Supersport. So I don't mean winning races or anything like that, but say if we're having a good run in BSB and my sponsors are liking my results and stuff in BSB, there's no reason why after the TT we can't, go on back and try and finish the championship off or something like that. We're not sure, but definitely BSB, Northwest, TT, hopefully Macau, probably go to Macau with the Heat Tech team. And not 100% sure what's going on in regards to a superbike ride or a super twin ride yet. There's options there to go and do that with Heat Tech. But as I keep referring on, it's down to finances and making sure everything works for me. Like, he's a great bloke, and the bikes are mint as well. But I still need to find money. I still need to find money, and I can't extract money from the project that we're already doing, as in 74 Racing. Do you know what I mean? So if I can get a sponsor on board to come and help us do a bit more, then that'll be great. But I have to put myself first and do my own thing.
2 questions to finish.
Yes.
They might be a bit left field, so we'll see how we get on with them. The first question is in 2 parts.
Yes.
What's your favourite corner and why?
Favourite corner where?
Anywhere. Whatever your favourite corner is. I know being a road racer, it's always a difficult question for a road racer because you've got
many.
200 and some odd at the Isle of Man. You've raced at Armoy, you've raced at Tandragee, you've raced at Aberdare, you've done the BSB circuits. There's an awful lot of corners to think of.
Yeah.
Just one that gives you the biggest smile when you've nailed it.
When we were going on about the TT and the my favourite part, I mean, it's sort of a section of maybe 2 or 3 corners, but it's Bray Hill. It's you run from if you want to put it into the shortest bit possible, it'll be from St. Ninian's Crossroads, and the run down to the compression at the bottom. Yeah. That's, for me, just feels like you've rode off the end of the world. So that's my favourite.
Because normos like me are never ever going to experience that ever.
No, and when
you're part of a select bunch with that.
Yeah, we're the luckiest people alive when you think about it. Where else? Who else gets to close a road, and not just a small road? You get to pretty much close the full island, and then go absolutely tearing around on whatever bike you choose.
Is right. Yeah. James Hillier said that when we did the chat with him at the island. And he said he feels so privileged
Yeah.
that it almost feels like it's against the law that that you guys get to do what you do as part of a select bunch that have gone before you.
And for me, it's like, how can you? I suppose people like John McGuinness and stuff probably think the same. That's why it's still going. How can you walk away from that when you get to do the best thing in the world and get the biggest buzz? I'm not sure. Maybe jumping out of an aeroplane or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think anywhere on this earth you can get a buzz. I can't personally see it. Other people from different sports disciplines might beg to differ, but yeah, how can you just walk away from like doing the ultimate? It's like you just can't.
To be so in control of what you do. If you just forgive me while I just insert another little bit to this.
Yes.
As we're going, I always think of things as we're going along. The guys that I always speak to at the TT, the guys that have always ridden the TT, tap man fascinates me. The man with the hand on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Between your mechanic stepping away, or your dad, whoever it was, stepping away, and you do that 20-yard paddle down to the arch, what are you feeling?
I'm not sure if other people are the same, but I get quite very, very anxious, as in stuff that you would never even cross your mind. Suddenly you've got like a million things going through your head. Just like silly things. Like I start sort of like pulling at my grips and stuff. Just making sure my grips aren't loose and just checking my clutch and then my brake lever, making sure my brake lever's like at the right adjuster, and then just loads of things, like even things like looking down, seeing if your mechanic's taking your tire stickers off, stuff that you'd never even question. Suddenly starts going through your head. But the second that you get that tap, it's like everything's gone. Like all you're focusing on then is what you're doing, if you like. And I'd say that's the biggest drug about it. It's as soon as you drop the clutch, if you like any problems or anything that you've got in your life, it could be anything. Like, I know it sounds bad, but even if like
anything,
anything, it's just gone. That's gone, and I'd say people use it for therapy more than anything.
But why not?
Yeah.
I find it really powerful standing up on the start finish, because from my side of things as a PR guy and as a fan of the sport, I find it really emotional.
Yes.
At the start of the senior, and people listen to the podcast, the guys listening know this many a time, I get really emotional. I got tears in my eyes as John went off at number one. The whole feeling is electric.
Yeah.
Watching you guys go and do what you do.
I remember the first time I was on the start line. I don't know. I'm not like an emotional person really, but I remember tears. Just before my first TT race, when you go in and you hear the Gary Thompson speaking, saying like 1 minute start line, 1 minute, and then you hear that I can't remember what that noise does. Some noise goes and it says
the paddock siren.
1 minute start line, 1 minute, and you hear the bikes warming up and your mechanics and whatnot are taking your tyre warmers off, and you're just looking down. You see the big Monster Energy barrows and run down rail, and you just think, am I really just about to do this? And it never changes. Every single one, whether it's the Classic TT or the Classic TT or any TT race that you do, it's still get the same. Don't get me wrong, I've only cried slightly once, and that was before my first TT, but you still get the same like butterflies, and you think, is this actually happening? Like, sounds bizarre, especially when you've done it for like 4 or 5 years now. You think, because you've not got used to it yet, but it doesn't change.
If you got used to it, you wouldn't do what you did.
Yeah, I suppose if you get used to it, you'd think, it's not really the same anymore, is it? So, yeah, every time, I don't know if it'll ever change. As soon as you hear the 1 minute start line, 1 minute, it's time to go and time to be a little boy and race around the best track in the world.
See, that's perfect. That's exactly how I envisage how you guys feel, because I'm never going to feel it.
Yeah,
and it's never going to happen to me. No computer games or anything like that can make you understand. So thank you for that, man. I really appreciate that. The final question is one from one of our listeners, Craig Lowe, And I did it last week with Mark Woodage. Never mind looking at it. It's down at the bottom. You're really trying to get a heads up. I did it for the first time with Mark Woodage last week down in Sheffield. Would you rather fight a chicken every time you got in your car,
Right.
or a monkey randomly once a week?
What kind of monkey?
A chimpanzee.
Are they the big butch ones?
No, they're the gorillas. No, a chimpanzee with a little pink face, and I think they'd be tough. They wouldn't know when they were beaten.
Had the chimpanzee been working out?
Yeah, probably. They're quite strong because they swing through trees and stuff like that, don't they? So you can have a chicken every time you get in your car, or a monkey randomly, and you're never going to know where he is. Once a week, he could pop out on you at any time. Bit like the Pink Panther films.
As long as it was just a fight with the chicken and he
Yeah.
ain't shitting everything in your car every time.
No, that's fair.
Then
we'll just take it as
I'll
that.
take the chicken, yeah.
Yeah, Mark Woodage did as well. He
Yeah.
took the chicken.
I wouldn't. It might be opposite if the chicken had shit everywhere and everything. Every time I got in my car, I had to clean chicken shit up because that stinks, you know.
Yeah, it's not
Chicken
nice.
shit is awful.
It's not the Nobody wants that in the car, do they? Not in any way, shape, or form. Joey, thank you so much for your time, mate. Thank you for coming out to Castleford for us, and we wish you all the very best for 2023 with Team 74.
Yes,
And
thank you very much.
whatever else comes with the TT.
Whatever else comes. And no, thank you for everyone for listening, hearing a bit of my story. Give us a follow on Instagram, Joey Thompson TT. Same on Facebook, and wish you all a safe and successful 2023, and hope to see you around the racing paddock.
Brilliant, Joey. Thanks a lot, mate. A big thank you to Joey for his time and for his honesty in our chat. Joey came to me after his Motion Focus Media video was released, asking if we could sit down and chat, and I'm grateful for him in trusting me to tell the deeper story. It is okay not to be okay, but it's really okay and generally encouraged to talk about it. If our chat helps just one person understand mental health more, or helps someone struggling to speak up, then I'll be absolutely over the moon. That's it for this version of Off Track. We're the podcast version of a caterpillar. We've wandered along, minding our own business and enjoying bringing you chats from the paddock, but now it's time to spread our wings and grow. We have so many plans, so many ideas for content for our wonderful listeners. A new look that we're really proud of, a new co-host, more about him when he returns from Australia really soon, and we've assembled a team that will see the show step up to the level it deserves to be, and we can't wait to share it all with you at the beginning of February. Follow the build-up on social media, search for Off Track, the Motorcycle Racing Podcast, and click the follow button on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, because you're going to need that more than ever. Thank you for following the journey so far. Your support is immense as always. As ever, look after yourselves, and we'll be back before you know it. Bye-bye.